This is WCM's Park Update, a weekly show covering the outdoor hospitality industry, hosted by Ben Quiggle and Mike Gast. During each episode, you'll hear from special guests and campground experts on topics that will help your park flourish. WCM's Park Update is a production of Woodall's Campground Magazine.
Hi, I'm Ben Quiggle, editor of Woodall's Campground Magazine, and welcome to another edition of WCM's Park Update. My colleague, Mike Gast, former Vice President of Communications of Campgrounds of America, is here. And our guest today is Shannon Connolly, the co-founder of Roamstead. And I guess, Shannon, what's your husband's name?
My husband's name is Thomas Connolly.
Thomas, yep,
Yeah.
and he's the other co-founder. So,
Sure.
And your park is in the Gatlinburg, Tennessee area, which I don't know if anybody in our audience has ever been to Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge area. It's an amazing area, lots of things to do. I know my wife and I enjoyed horseback riding down there once. The only time I've ever been on a horse, and it was really nerve-wracking. So.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spot for that for sure. There's a lot of really great trails in the area.
Well, Shannon, give us a little rundown give us the elevator speech, the marketing pitch for the campground.
Absolutely.
How many sites? How big?
Yeah, so we opened in July. We're brand new. We have 18 cabins. We have 30 some RV sites. We've got 4 tent sites and 9 yurts and 3 lodge rooms. So we have a little bit for everybody. We're on about 6 acres, about 30 minutes outside of Gatlinburg, in a really quiet part of the Smoky Mountains. And we've got a really great lodge. We offer food service, breakfast in the morning, lunch and dinner. Cocktails in the evening around the campfire. We've got an awesome pool. We're pet friendly. Almost every site on our property is waterfront, which is really exciting for us. It's a beautiful, beautiful spot. We literally back up right up to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. So there's a hiking trail right out our back door.
And I thought your story was pretty interesting because I know we've published a couple things on Woodall's Campground Magazine. Boy, as you get older, you forget who you even work for. So it's a constant battle just for me to remember the name of the magazine. But we published a story, I think, when you opened the park, and then I think Travel and Leisure, which is another great travel magazine, did a profile on you and your husband. Yeah. And it was kind of neat. You got inspired to open the park based on a month-long road trip, I guess, right?
Absolutely. So we started camping with our kids in 2019. The first time we went camping, we went tent camping, slept on the ground, and immediately thought this was a lot of fun, but we can't do this again. too old for the ground. Our backs hurt. The kids loved it though, and so we purchased our first camper in 2019. And have absolutely loved it ever since. We've been checking off national parks with the kids. And so in 2021, after COVID, we were, I think everybody was really itchy to get out and about. And one way to do that was to take a road trip to national parks. So we spent a month traveling through the Colorado and Utah area, checking off all the national parks out there. And it was a wonderful trip, but in the planning process, we found ourselves a little bit disappointed in the campgrounds that we found. There's a lot of really great campgrounds out there that are, especially like KOAs. You know what to expect, you know what you're going to get, but I think there's a lack of excitement and innovation in some of the campgrounds that are out there. There's a lot of mom and pops, which are great, but I think oftentimes we found a different level of cleanliness expectation. A lot of times, campgrounds are maybe a little run down, maybe haven't had the investment that like hotels and stuff have. And we love camping, but we also love boutique hotels and really cool, travel experiences. We want to be able to share where we're staying on social media and things like that. So, we just weren't necessarily finding exactly what we thought might be out there. So during that trip, we stayed at a bunch of different places and kind of figured out what we liked and what we didn't like about some of these campgrounds. And then we started researching. We were like, surely there's some, cool modern campgrounds out there in the market. And what we found is there really weren't a lot. So we just decided we would have to do it ourselves.
Yeah. I know and I think in the travel and leisure story, you mentioned that you kind of try to bridge the gap between, that boutique hotel and a campground experience. So I guess
Absolutely.
how does your park do that? I know you guys have a variety of different lodging options. I know you have some pretty neat looking cabins. So, do you guys kind of offer a glamping experience too, along with the traditional camping
We do.
experience?
We have something for everybody. And I think, one thing about about camping specifically is not everybody grows up having that camping experience. It can be a little bit intimidating. The gear is expensive. Not everybody has their own camper, and not everybody has their own tent. And to purchase all that stuff for a one-time trip can be kind of hard. So one of the things that we set out to do is be that jumping off point for any level of camping experience. So we have RV sites, which is important to us as RV campers. We have, the tents and the tent sites, and we have yurts for people who are, just kind of getting into that camping experience, but want a little more luxury. And then we've got cabins for people who are like, I'm not really into the camping thing, but I like being outdoors and I like being connected to the outdoors. So we've got a little bit for everybody. Some of those other features that I think help us stand apart from other traditional campgrounds and kind of bridge that gap with the boutique hotel industry is that our bathhouses are incredibly clean. That's one thing we pride ourselves on. They're very spa-like is what we call them. We provide bath products in our bathhouses. They're very beautiful spaces. So they're not one of my biggest pet peeves when I go to campgrounds is when I have to shower with spiders or I feel like I have to wear my flip-flops because if I touch one toe on the ground, I'm getting dirty. So that's one of the really important pieces for us is creating a bathroom space that's very clean. One of the other things that I think bridges that gap or pushes us towards the outdoor resort kind of space is the food service that we offer. So in the mornings, we offer complimentary granola and drip coffee. We also have some breakfast items for sale. And then for lunch and dinner, we have a pizza menu. It's very simple. We have a very small kitchen, but we've been able to execute a very simple menu very well. We have our liquor license, so we offer cocktails as well. So that's really exciting for us. Just kind of elevating those amenities that you typically find in a campground experience and kind of making it feel a little bit more like a hotel.
So how did you find the location, and what was there when you found it?
Yeah, that was one of the hardest parts was finding the right spot. So we knew we wanted to start in the Smoky Mountains. We live in Chattanooga, which is just a few hours away, and I'm originally from the Smoky Mountain area. So that was, kind of my home base growing up. It was where we were familiar with. And, the Smokies is the most visited national park by far in the United States. So it was kind of a no-brainer that was where we wanted to start. But we spent probably a year and a half looking for the right property. We were close on land a couple times and had sort of thought we would end up building from the ground up. But in the end, I actually just kind of stumbled on a 5-year-old listing for a campground in the Cosby area. And apparently the listing had existed. The family had decided not to sell, but the website, this just kind of rinky-dink website, wouldn't take the listing down. And so here I was 5 years later. I just sent the number a text message, and she reached out to me a couple days later and said, it's really kind of crazy timing. We had decided not to sell, but we just revisited it as a family last week. So it was just sort of serendipitous timing on
Wow.
on
Yeah.
part. But
So how did, I guess, what did you and your husband do beforehand?
Yeah.
And I guess, how was the
How did we
financing
get started?
process for this land, I guess?
Yeah, so I came from a completely unrelated industry. I was in data analytics before, but my husband does have a little bit of this type of experience. He has been on his own in real estate development for the last probably
Okay.
6 years. And
Okay.
before that, was working for a hotel developer in town. So he has a little bit of that hospitality background and that
Okay.
development background. And so he had a network of investors that he was able to start reaching out to. And that network obviously expanded a little bit as this project progressed. But so he was, he was pretty instrumental in raising the funds for this project through our local network of investors.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
you got
yeah.
you actually had some facilities there. The Hemlock cabin obviously was
Yes.
there. It's,
Yeah. So
was that the only one as far as
no,
accommodations went when you bought it?
no. So they had cabins existing. They had yurts existing, and all the RV sites and tent sites were there. So we didn't change the layout of the property very much at all. We renovated almost all of the existing cabins. Let's see, 10 of the existing cabins we renovated, including the Hemlock, which I'll talk about in a second. We did pull off a couple cabins that were maybe didn't have bathrooms or were significantly different from the structures that were already in place. There was an owner's house on the property that we removed in order to make some more space for cabins as well. So we in the end built 8 new cabins in those empty spaces.
Okay.
And then 6 yurts existed. We built 3 more in that area in the back. And then really the other significant piece of renovation that we did was on the lodge and the common space up front. So the lodge had, there's some pictures there. So the lodge actually had a game room upstairs. And so we took that out. We added 3 lodge rooms up there to make that an income generating space. We lofted the ceiling in part of that because it had a very low ceiling. So we kind of cut that ceiling out, made a mezzanine with some additional seating, and just kind of opened up that common space inside the lodge. Built out that bar that you see in the picture right there.
Yeah.
Kind of made a common seating area with a fireplace. We have a really great store. So
Yeah.
the lodge was completely gutted. And redesigned. And then that pavilion that you see in that picture right there, that was all brand new as well. So in the space behind the lodge, it was kind of a sea of gravel. It was just all gravel, and there was cars could use that space as well. So we took out an old putt course and some old outbuildings and created a big green space for gathering. Built that pavilion with a fireplace to make another really nice outdoor gathering space. So I think that to me is the other thing that campgrounds offer that hotels do not, and that's the opportunity for gathering. That's something that's really unique in campground spaces that I don't think enough people know about. So we really wanted to thoughtfully design these common areas to really draw people forward into the lodge to hang out together. So we've got communal fire pits and all that, and we host activities in the pavilion, and just utilize that space for hanging out.
Yeah, so these cabins, were these cabins already in place, or are these new ones that
Those
you
are our
got?
new ones. Those are our new ones. So, my husband also, in addition to the development business, has his own construction company as well. So we were able to kind of get those built in a very quick fashion. But they're really cool. They're loft style cabins.
Yeah.
So there's 8 of them, and they're all the same footprint, all the same floor plan, but we use them in 2 different ways. So we have some of them that sleep 4, and in those we have 2 twin beds upstairs and a queen downstairs, and then we have some that sleep 2 that have a queen bedroom upstairs. So same cabin, just utilized in a couple different fashions.
So those are custom cabins that you built.
They are. They are.
All right. Okay. Yeah. And then you have yurts, obviously. Who did you guys custom build the yurts too, or did you go through somebody for the yurts?
We went through a company for Yurts of America for the yurts.
Okay.
So
All right.
they were
Yeah.
the previous owners had utilized them, and so we just got 3 brand new ones that looked exactly the same. We
Okay.
rewrapped them. They were. It was time to rewrap the. I think they were initially built in 2012. So
Okay.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we used the existing ones. We put in some string lights in a common area back there too. I think, one of the really cool things about this property, like I mentioned, is that every site is waterfront. And I think a lot of times RV parks and campgrounds really kind of squeeze all the spaces they can get on the water in order to charge a premium. But it's really important for us to have those
Yeah, I
common
mean,
spaces. So we
photos are
actually
great.
pulled some off the water in order to create common spaces and common fire pits and things like that, so that everybody could enjoy that waterfront space.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the photos are great. I think that's one of the things that's really missing from a lot of parks is great photography. You guys really do a good job with photography.
That's critical, and that's something that we agree to when we go to look at a campground's website. If we're booking, the what we want to see is what the space looks like and how it's utilized, and that photography really draws people in. So that's one of my top recommendations for anybody getting into this space is invest in photography. So we actually have a photographer coming back out this coming weekend to take another round of fall photos so that we can really showcase the fall colors on the property. So it's really been critical for us.
Yeah, so my experience has always been that when you're in the shadow of a national park, the park kind of empties out during the day as people go in and experience the park and then come back. Is that what you're finding, or do you have more of your customers staying with you all day long?
So I think we expect that. We expect them to leave for the day and come back. We expect to have those adventure travelers, but at the same time, we're really seeing a chunk of them stick around. So through the month of October, we've been pretty sold out, and we really started planning activities during the day on Saturdays. We have, rock painting for the kids. We've had cornhole tournaments and gaga ball tournaments and costume contests and trick-or-treating, and honestly, like, people stick around for that. So we wouldn't do that every day. I think we expect people to get out and explore and hike and really take advantage of all the area has to offer. But we're on the weekends, on Saturdays, and when we have those events planned, as long as they're planned strategically, people stick around for those too. So it's been really a mix, I think.
Okay, I get to ask my favorite question now. Through all the development, where'd you screw up? What'd you do wrong?
That's a funny question. I think timeline was one that we one of the most stressful pieces of it for us was we had canceled some of the so when we took over in December, we closed through they opened in March, and so we canceled bookings from March to the beginning of July, and set that goal of opening in July. And so we really had to push to get everything done, and that was incredibly stressful for us, incredibly stressful for our team. I think if we were to do that again, we would not have set ourselves up for such incredible stress trying to get it ready for those guests. We would have probably given ourselves a little more time. In the end, I think every business owner who's opening a new business has to kind of rip that Band-Aid off at some point. I don't think you're ever going to be totally ready, but I do think we set some unrealistic expectations for how quickly we could build 8 new cabins and renovate every single piece of the property. So, the day of our soft opening, we were turning on the water in the bathhouse for the first time. The bathhouse literally was finished the day of our soft opening, the day we had all of our investors, coming down, turned on the water. We got water, spurting from pipes, and it was just a harried experience. But so I think that was probably one of my biggest learnings through the whole process is just set realistic timelines so that you're not just absolutely killing yourself to get it ready.
So what about staffing? I know being next to a national park is also very stressful when you're trying to find the help that you need because there's so much competition out there.
There
One,
is.
one
Oh, go
second.
ahead. Yeah.
Think about that question. We have to take a break to recognize our
Got it.
sponsor, New Book, and we'll be right
Yes.
back. So,
Sounds great.
Calling all campground operators, owners, front desk heroes, say hello to your show sponsor, NewBook, your connected hospitality management solution packed with the power to streamline your operations, maximize revenue, increase bookings, and deliver memorable guest experiences. Thanks to its suite of innovative and easy-to-use tools, backed by an expert customer support team cheering you on 24/7. So if you're ready to level up your campground and unlock more opportunities, head to newbook.cloud to start your journey today.
hi, welcome back to WCM's Park Update, sponsored by New Book. And Mike was asking a question about staffing before I had to interrupt him so that we could recognize New Book. Mike, what was your question again?
Yeah, well, I was just asking Shannon about the challenges that you face when you're trying to operate a park like this with on the footsteps of or on the doorstep of a national park, with all that competition out there for good employees, both local and from afar. So how do you deal with that, Shannon?
Absolutely. So that I'm glad you asked that question. So we actually have, not only do we have all that competition, and Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge area is such a hub for hospitality workers. We're actually 30 minutes outside of that, and so a lot of folks aren't necessarily, like, if they live in that area, they aren't necessarily willing to drive 30 extra minutes, 40 extra minutes, whatever, out to our property when there is a plethora of opportunities for them in the Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg area. So we were really nervous about that. And I think every time we do post a job, our pool is relatively limited. However, I will say we have been so lucky with the people that we've gotten. They're all local. Almost all of them are local to the Newport Cosby area. So a little bit outside of that traditional, tourist destination. And they're phenomenal. And you read our reviews, almost every single one of our reviews calls out our staff specifically. So we've just really been incredibly lucky with who we found, and everybody really cares. And that comes through loud and clear. I mean, our guests notice that. So we do have one work camping couple. I would say that's a huge resource. Every time I've posted in work camping groups, I've had a tremendous response. I think we have to balance that, those staff that live on property with those that are local. Just you got to have the right balance of that. But I think those work campers are a tremendous resource especially for more remote locations, kind of like we are. So yeah, it's been tough, but we've just been really, really fortunate.
I know, before the show, and I think in one of your earlier press releases, you indicated Roamstead is sort of a brand, because I think when when I read the first release in April announcing the park that you just opened, you had mentioned it was going to be sort of a brand, and potentially there could be more than one park. I think you indicated you're working on finding land for another park. I guess, do you want it in the same geographical area as this park, or are you pretty much looking anywhere you can find land?
So ultimately, we would love to be outside of national parks and other major outdoor destinations. We're really seeking that adventure traveler and people who, want to visit those destinations, but need a little bit of help finding the right place to stay. So, we right now are looking for a couple other locations in the Southeast. I think we really need to nail our operations before we take it more broadly through the United States. We would love to be out West. We would love to be in the Northeast. So there's a lot of great opportunity there. So right now we're kind of looking in our general vicinity, Shenandoah, New River Gorge in West Virginia, the Asheville area, North Georgia, all great locations for this concept. But yeah, that was our intention from the beginning. Is we've been really focused on the brand of Roamstead itself and kind of building that, because that's our hope, is that this is the first of many locations for Roamstead.
So what do you do with marketing? Talk about that plan a little bit, because obviously you've got a beautiful website and it certainly does the job. But where are you out there looking for new customers?
Really, we've been almost 100% on social media. I would say that's been the best option for us. partly because I'm just one person and it's easy. It's affordable. We've really been fortunate to work with a lot of social media influencers.
Mm-hmm.
That so some we've paid and some that we haven't. We have a place on our website, and through social media, folks reach out to us and ask us to come and stay in exchange for a social media post, and we almost always say yes to that. Depending on the followers, because each new person who comes and stays, it's all about word of mouth, right? So that has been the best way for us to get started. And outside of the more traditional marketing piece, I think PR has been super important too. That's where the most of our spend has gone, is to PR. And our PR team is phenomenal, and they've gotten us in Southern Living, Travel and Leisure, Garden and Gun, Good Housekeeping. So, I think that is something that people don't always think about when opening a new business, because it can be expensive. It's a whole nother team you got to bring in. I mean, that takes a really special skill set. In my opinion, anybody can post on social media, but not everybody can handle the PR side and have those media contacts and things like that. And so that has been really critical to us getting a little more attention from the media.
So, what's the future look like for the park? I guess, do you guys have more land to expand the park on? Do you want to make it any larger? Are you happy with the way it is now? I guess, what do you want to do with the park?
We would love to make it a little bit larger. I think we actually own 3 acres across the street as well. We're trying to figure out the right use of that space right now. It's sort of just where our work campers stay. It's across a busy road and it feels a little disconnected. So I'm not sure that building new spaces on that piece is the right move. But, there's land behind us that I would love to, to explore the possibility of purchasing at some point. I mean, obviously it's privately owned, but I think it would be really exciting to expand our current location. 6 acres is not very large. The space is incredibly efficiently utilized right now. And I even this weekend, people were commenting on, gosh, I can't believe you fit that many sites on this small space. But it doesn't feel with the tree cover and the foliage and stuff, it doesn't feel crammed together. It's just very well utilized. So I think we're always open to expanding this current location because it's just a really, really great spot. So
and I mean, you guys are open all year round too, correct? In the
we are. So
okay.
That's new. That's new for this property. And really, I think we're the only campground RV park that is going to be open year round on that side of the park. So we added mini split units to all of the cabins and the yurts so that now they're all heated. So we anticipate, keeping those cabins and yurts occupied throughout the winter months. Obviously that RV traffic's going to be a little bit slower. But in general, we have pretty mild winters down here. We do get a little bit of snow, but I think there's definitely opportunity for those winter travelers as well, because we are the only one on that side that will remain open.
Do you guys do a lot of advanced bookings? And if you do, how are those looking for 2024? I guess
we're starting to, it's hard for me to compare because we really didn't have anything to compare against, considering we're brand new. But, when we first opened, all of our bookings were super immediate. I mean, we were booking a few weeks in advance. We opened we opened August forward first, and then we opened July. And so we were just, kind of filling in those gaps. But we're definitely starting to see them come in for May and June and July next year, even through August. We've got our bookings open a year in advance. And through October. And so we're starting to see those October bookings come in too, but it's starting to fill up for May and June specifically is when I feel like I keep seeing the dates pop up when those bookings come through. So I'm hoping for a really strong year. Like I said, we don't have a lot to compare against, but we're really excited. I think there's a ramp up time that any new campground, any new property has to account for, building awareness for the brand and getting people to seek us out. So it's a growth process for sure, but we're excited for what's to come.
So are there plans to expand on the food offerings at all, or your customers happy with what you got?
I think our customers are pretty happy with what we've got. Now, I would love to expand, but our kitchen is so small. We are really constrained in terms of what we can do on this particular property. We literally have one turbo chef that has 2 drawers. And so that's all we have to cook on. So we're pretty constrained, but I think one thing we've really learned through this process is you can have an incredibly simple menu that is very good. And our guests compliment our pizza all the time. It's pretty delicious. So, we're pretty happy with it. We do have a couple items on our menu for kids. We've got some mini corn dogs and some chicken tenders that are cooked in that same oven. And then our breakfast menu is, heat and serve items like bacon, egg, and cheese croissants and a chocolate croissant. It's very basic stuff, but it's delicious. So we've really kind of just focused in on items that are crowd pleasers. And, we can't be everything to everybody. There are other great restaurants a short drive away in Gatlinburg and the surrounding area, but it's just nice to have a convenient option on property. You go out and you hike all day and you come back and sometimes you just want to relax. Cooking over the campfire is great. There's a time and a place for that, but sometimes you just want to relax at the end of the day. So we've got that pizza. We've got you covered for dinner at least a night or two during your stay. And then the other nights you can cook at your cabin or over your fire. You can go see what the local area has to offer because there's a lot around there.
And the whole resort is pet friendly too. Do you allow pets in the cabins?
We do. All of our units have pet friendly options. We do have a few of each set aside that are pet free for our folks with allergies and other concerns like that. So we obviously want to account for that as well. But vast majority of the park is pet friendly, and we love our dogs. We call them Roamstead Rovers, and each dog that visits our property gets a little bandana with our logo on it. And, it's perfect for the social media sharing. So our guests love that too.
Yeah. And I know on the website, I think I saw something pop up about the cocktails.
Yes.
So did you and your husband have to practice making the cocktails a lot at home?
We did. Honestly, we did. We started testing out some recipes, but when we went through this hiring process, we were careful to at least hire a handful of people that had that food experience that my husband and I don't have. So we didn't personally develop the menu. We had a general manager who had owned his own restaurant previously and was able to kind of dial that in. We have a great staff member right now who kind of has a passion for bartending, and she is in the process of developing a new line of fall drinks for us. So I think that's the other thing is we talk about finding that good staff, but then capitalizing on their skill set and what they're passionate about. Because I've never worked in a restaurant before. That's not my area of expertise. I like a good cocktail and I got some ideas, but I've never made it. And our property host staff has to be able to do everything all at once. So at a busy time, we have a couple people behind one counter and they're taking dinner orders, they're making drinks, they're checking guests in all at the same time in the same space. So we have to make sure that everything we do is incredibly simple and easy to manage and easy to train on because, staffing can be tough. So we've dreamt a lot about the cocktails, but sometimes you got to have somebody with a special level of expertise to come in and develop that menu for you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and people can connect with Roamstead at roamstead.com. And then I know you were at the glamping show, although Mike and I missed you. But are campground owners going to be able to connect with you at any other conferences this fall? Are you going to the OHC?
I will be at the Outdoor Hospitality Conference here in a couple of weeks, and would love to meet fellow owners because this is new to me. I loved the glamping show because my favorite portion of that show were the lunches and breakfast, so I could just sit and talk to other people and hear what they were doing. So I'm excited to meet more folks. This will be my first time at the OHC conference.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, thank you, Shannon, for coming on the show and sharing details about Roamstead. And thanks, everyone, for watching. And we will be back again next week with another episode.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to WCM's Park Update, a production of Woodall's Campground Magazine. Join us for a new show each Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn for daily news and updates, and subscribe to our news feed on our website at woodallscm.com. Show hosts are Ben Quiggle and Mike Gast. Executive producers Rick Kessler and Alex Burkett. Copyright 2022, G&G Media Group.